As my channel grows, this is a reminder that I don't have all or any answers to this stuff, and all I can provide is my opinions and theories. So if you don't agree with me on something, let's talk, not attack, because my opinions and theories can be changed. My mind is open. And remember, these are real humans telling real encounters with real trauma, not entertainment. Be respectful, be empathetic. Happy New Year to all my true Untold Nightmare fans, and if you're caught in a storm either on the East Coast, West Coast, or anywhere in between, be safe out there, be careful, and with that said, welcome to episode 14 of True Untold Nightmares. I'm your host, Chris Moss, and I got two encounters for you guys today, but before I get to that, at the end of this video, after I'm done retelling the encounters, I'm going to answer three questions. One is, do I think Dogman is spiritual or physical? The second is, do I believe the stories that I get? And the third question comes from Kelly, whose encounter I retold on episode 12. And speaking of Kelly, I was provided a screenshot of a comment that was left under Kelly's story when she posted her story on a Ghost Stories website many years ago. Now, the comment ties into Kelly's story, and the screenshot is up on the screen as well. And the comment reads, "This is true, and I am amazed I found a story here I have a weak link to. My grandfather worked in Cincinnati when that suicide happened. He even talked about the Dobermans and how it was impossible for somebody to hang 3 dogs that weighed almost 100 pounds each and still have the strength to kill themselves as well. The dogs must have been drugged or dead already, making them seem even heavier. So many questions about this, and yes, it was covered up quickly. Cops dropped it because of whispers of Satanism or occultism, but locals did gossip about it. That poor lady to be murdered sadistically by her own son after experiencing such loss earlier makes me tearful. I am sad the original poster has left. I would have loved to have made contact. That is an amazing ghost dog encounter." And if you haven't heard about Kelly's encounter, I implore you to check out episode 12. And in episode 13, in the description, I placed the links to the news articles that Kelly provided me that has to do with the son killing the mom. He very sadistic. Years after the dad killed the dogs along with himself, the son killed his mom with 12 blows to the head and then left her body in the backyard cistern for 11 months. Very sadistic. Go check out episode 12. Click on the news article links in episode 13. Crazy world we live in. But if you would like to join the Facebook group, the link to the Facebook group is in the description below, along with my email if you would like to send me an encounter you would like me to retell, or if you would like to come on the show and retell your encounter yourself, you can do that. Just hit me up in my email. And I've gotten this question too. Does my encounter have to be public? And no, it does not. I actually have, or rather I've received more encounters that I'm not obligated to share, nor will I ever, unless I got their permission. You know, that I've been contacted. They just wanted to get it off their chest. They just wanted somebody to listen because they feel like they can't, or rather they can't talk to family members. They can't talk to their therapist about this. Otherwise they'll be drugged up, and they can't go to the cops about this. So who can they talk to about, what they've encountered, what they've seen? So I have people who hit me up and honestly, it's helped them a lot. Their words, not mine, because when you have nobody to turn to and then you finally find somebody who does believe you, even though I haven't directly seen a Dogman or Bigfoot myself, I believe I've had an encounter with one. I'll tell that story in episode 2, but I've heard this notion before that some people feel like you can't help another person unless, you can't help a person who's had a Dogman encounter or Bigfoot encounter unless you've had an encounter with them yourself. And the reason I don't believe that notion is because it's like saying you can't help a drug addict unless you've done heroin yourself, unless you've done cocaine yourself. I get what they're trying to say when they say that notion, but at the same time, it's like I don't agree with that. It's like just because I haven't physically seen it with my own eyes doesn't mean I don't believe it. Like all these people with these encounters are not making this stuff up. Sometimes these people just need somebody to listen to them. They have nowhere to turn to. They don't have nobody to talk to. And it's sitting and weighing on them day after day, year after year. And they don't know what else to do. I feel like even if you don't have an encounter of your own, I feel like as long as you honestly believe them, you're doing the best that you can. We're all doing the best that we can, So I don't believe this notion that you have to have had a Dogman encounter in order to, because if that's the case, then there's truly not a lot of help for these people who have had encounters with Dogman and Bigfoot. Then there is truly a very, very, very small pool of people they can talk to. So that's just my opinion on that. I've had encounters. I've had people hit me up and tell their encounters that I can't share. And honestly, it's the ones that you can't share that are the scariest. And I honestly feel for these people. This is not just entertainment. And I have to remind people, this is not, these are humans having traumatic experiences. And because you haven't had one yourself, I understand it can be seen as a form of entertainment, but that's why I have the reminder that it's not. So, and if you catch me repeating myself in one or a couple of these videos, it's because honestly, I have lost my train of thought because I have so much I want to say that I end up repeating myself sometimes. And sometimes I'll catch it, change it in post-production, and sometimes I won't catch it. And I'm only addressing this because I saw somebody complain in the comments that he's just repeating himself for time. Trust me, it's not for time. It's because I know what I wanted to say, but I lost my train of thought and I'm trying to repeat myself, backtrack to, see if it'll eventually, what I was trying to say will eventually come out. But let's get to these encounters. Now, for this first encounter, this person wishes to remain anonymous. So no real names, no location, but I'll give a fake name. We'll call him Mark. Now, when Mark was 17, he met a girl at his friend's house party, and they had been casually dating for about 2 weeks. Towards the end of that second week, he went back to her place to hang out, and apparently the parents were gone for a couple of days, so they're the only two in the house. Now, in her house, all the bedrooms are upstairs. He said around 11:30 at night, she sent him to the kitchen to get a snack. Now, remember, it's only them two at home, and now he's downstairs alone. He said that as he's walking to the kitchen, a tall beast with the head of a dog and the body of a man came out of the kitchen and proceeded to chase him. As he was running up the stairs, he said it swiped his foot and made him trip, but that didn't slow him down one bit. He said his adrenaline was in high gear and he refused to slow down or stop moving under no circumstances. Now, when he got back to the bedroom, he slammed the door and he was out of breath. Now, the girl, she didn't know what was going on. She was so confused and she was startled. He told her what happened. She didn't believe him. She went out to go check. And of course, she saw nothing. No evidence that such a creature was even in her house. And she was questioning, okay, well, if it was real, how did it get in my house? He had no answers, obviously. So he left immediately. And he said he never saw her again, never talked to her, never saw her again, never even went back to that house. Now, it's not like they didn't go to the same school or anything. So there was no way to bump into her. And he did mention that his friend had plenty of parties after that, but he never saw the girl again at any of those parties. Now, part 2 of this encounter, it happens many, many years later. At this point, Mark is much older. He's married with kids. One day, he said he went down to his basement to put some stuff away, and all of the boxes in his basement are stacked up on top of each other. Like there's columns of boxes scattered around the basement floor. He said that after he noticed that one of these boxes moved, the same dog creature that he saw in that girl's house many years ago steps from behind the boxes and chases him into the house. Mark slammed the basement door behind him, and this creature banged on her door once. One of Mark's sons went back down with him into the basement, and of course, again, just like the girl, found nothing. But the son did admit that he heard a loud bang, which is why he came to his father and asked what was going on. Now, when I was talking through Mark through email, I asked him, does he think that his son believed him? He said absolutely not. His son thinks that something fell over and spooked him. When they went to investigate, the son did see the box that moved did fall over. So the son saw the box on the floor. The son heard the loud bang on the door, but he said his son didn't know what to make of it. His son just thinks something fell over. His dad got spooked because he's an old man. But he mentioned that honestly, outside of the girl, him telling the girl that night and him telling his son, I'm the third person that he's told. He's never told his wife about what he encountered. He never told his other kids, and he's never brought it back up with his son. Like, honestly, it was something fell over, dad got spooked, and then they moved on. Now, Mark doesn't know what to make of this, and I honestly told him I don't either, because this is the first encounter that I've received with a Dogman just appearing out of nowhere in somebody's home, which also doesn't mean that it doesn't happen often. It could happen a lot more often than we think. You know, it's just that my podcast hasn't received, this is the first encounter I've received of something like that happening. And then I asked him if he felt comfortable to describe the creature. And he proceeds to tell me that it had the head of Anubis, was the best way that he could compare it. Best thing he could compare it to was the head of Anubis with a huge man chest. And that the chest area was the only area with almost no hair. And that it had to be at least 9 feet tall. The ears were pointy, just like Anubis. And he said it had hands, not paws. And the other interesting thing about this creature is that it had vapors, black vapors coming off of it, like, I don't know, like it just manifested right then and there. Like when you have a hot plate of food and you see the smoke coming off of the food, it was the black vapors were coming off of it just like that. He said that he's never been so scared in his life, and that he feels like a little kid because he's too afraid to just walk into his basement alone. Like now he refuses to go into his basement alone. And he proceeds to say, like, imagine that. A grown man afraid to go into his own basement because of something that he can't prove. And I told him straight up, I'm like, look, how many grown men have seen what you've seen, encountered what you encountered, dealt with what you dealt with? As a matter of fact, I'm like, I've heard stories. I've received encounters of not just grown men, but grown women pissing themselves because of seeing this thing. I'm like, you are not in the minority in this situation. And there is no shame in being afraid to go into your basement. You only feel like that because, you know, your son doesn't believe you. You know, you don't want to tell your wife because you doubt that she'll believe you. And the girl in that house that day didn't believe you. So it's like, if you're surrounded by people who don't believe, then, you know, you are very valid in how you feel. And honestly, even if the people around you did believe you, you know, you were still valid in how you feel. It would make things easier, I would say that much, because at least if you were surrounded by people who believed you, then you guys could come up with a buddy system, you know, for the basement or anywhere else in the house. But he said he hasn't seen a thing in a while. He hasn't seen it since. But I told him that if it happens a third time, if he's comfortable with it, you know, reach out to me again and let me know. And he agreed to that. So let me know your theories and opinions down in the comments below about this encounter. Why, you know, where did this Dogman thing come from? Why did it just appear in that girl's kitchen and then years later in his basement? Why is it targeting him? Did he piss off a voodoo priest or a gypsy or, you know, a Satanist or somebody? Did somebody send this thing after him? You know, this one's a tough one because I think this one tackles the spiritual side of Dogmen, which I'm going to answer that question at the end of this video. Do I believe Dogmen are spiritual or physical? But this situation, this encounter is very, very strange, you know? And honestly, the strangest part about both parts of these encounters is that not only did it appear out of nowhere, but it could physically touch him. It could physically interact with its environment. When it came out of the kitchen, it took a swipe at his foot and made him trip. Before it appeared in the basement, or before it showed itself in the basement, it moved a box and then it banged against the doors. So Not only did this thing appear out of nowhere like a ghost, but it can clearly make things move and hit against things, and other people can hear it. His son heard the bang against the door. His son saw the box on the floor. It's not like the box moved and, the son didn't hear the bang, and when the son went to the basement, the box was in its spot perfectly. No, the son saw the after effects of this thing manifesting. But where did it come from? Why did it target him? I feel like with this one, it's just more questions than answers. And that's the point of podcasts like mine. Like we try to gather these encounters and we try to place pieces of the puzzle together. As far as we know, the girl could have been an occult member. And not only did she fake not believe in him, but who knows, she could have set him up. She could have been a part of some strange. I mean, the parents were gone for a couple of days. How do we know? Maybe there were no parents at all. I'm just saying these are my theories, but and I'm not trying to scare you, Mark. If you listen, I'm not trying to scare you, but just digging for answers, man. Answers that I don't think any of us have right now. But at the end of the day, Mark, I'm just glad that you weren't hurt. That's what matters. You're still here with us. You didn't get hurt. And but which actually that made a thought pop into my head. Let's say when it swiped your foot, it left claw marks. The claw marks would have still been on your body when you showed them to the girl. Or let's say it would have lightly scratched you right before your son came. Would the marks still be on your body visible to your son as well? And at that point, would he have believed you then? Would the girl would the girl have believed you then if she saw marks on your body? It's just a lot more questions than answers with this encounter. Thank you for, emailing me, Mark. And I'm glad you're okay. Now, this second encounter happened to a couple in 2007, around February, March in Ohio. Now, this couple were driving home late one night on a well-traveled but rural road when they noticed movement on their right side and saw what they described as a wolf the size of a bull with a barrel chest and red eyes running like a human being on its hind legs. Now, the husband said that he was driving around 45, 50 miles per hour, and this thing kept perfect pace with the car. Then it sped up, ran across the road and into the woods. They said they've never seen anything like this before or again. I asked the couple if they were driving home late one night, how were they able to make out the chest and the size of this thing? And they said that the moon was bright that night. The moon was super bright, so they could clearly see this thing. So I asked them, how was the head? Like, what did the head look like? Was there a tail? And they said that they do remember seeing the tail and that it was short and a little bushy, and that the head was so big. That's what they were emphasizing on. The head was huge. It looked like a German Shepherd is the best thing that they could compare it to. A German Shepherd head with a big barrel chest and the size of a bull with a short bushy tail. And they also couldn't understand how fast this thing moved. They said this thing was easily pacing the car 45, 50 miles per hour. And the scariest part is how it sped up to run across the road. They said this thing moved so quick and it looked comfortable on its hind legs. But like they said, they never seen anything like that before, and they've never seen anything like that again since 2007. So I'm leaving it up to you guys, the audience. What are your theories and opinions on this encounter? I feel like this one is more cut and dry. They were driving along a road, and either you can see it one or two ways. Right place, right time, or wrong place, wrong time. But I'm just glad that this thing took no interest in them. It had a goal and a destination in its mind, and it was just going for it. Now I'm going to answer 3 questions. 2 I get often, and then the third one is from Kelly. And I want to throw a 4th one out there for the audience. With the craziness of the storms happening right now, the snowstorm happening over in East Coast, and we getting a lot of floods over here because of the heavy rains and the heavy wind over here in California, and any storms happening in between. Do you think we're going to get more frequent Bigfoot and Dogman encounters, or do you think we're going to get less encounters, or do you think the encounters are going to be about the same? Because over here, we're getting a lot of flooding. And I know in the East Coast, it's a lot of snow and a lot of ice. So I'm very curious how that's going to affect Dogman and Bigfoot. Now, for the first question, is Dogman more spiritual or more physical? And my answer is both. But also, my second part of the answer is it depends, or it varies from encounter to encounter. Let me explain. The reason I say both is because I think dogmen are a lot like us, where they are spiritual, having a physical experience. I believe they have spirits. There are tons of stories of people seeing the ghost of their pets after the pets pass away. I believe that animals possess spirits. It's okay if you don't agree with me. We can, let's talk, not attack. The other example I want to use is that Jesus casted demons into pigs. If pigs can be demonically possessed, so can dogmen. Once again, like us, dogmen can become possessed. I think they have spirits. I think they are spiritual, having a physical experience. Generally speaking, there are the exceptions to that rule. Like with Mark, a dogman appeared out of nowhere in that girl's kitchen and then appeared out of nowhere in his basement. Now, to explain that, I think in that situation, it's purely spiritual, because I feel like a spirit can shapeshift. Demons can shapeshift. An occult member could send out a dogman spirit after you. An occult member could send out, the demonic after you, and they could shapeshift into a dogman or a wolfman. So on that aspect, that's why I said it varies from encounter to encounter, because if you have a spirit after you, they can shapeshift and look like a dogman. So for some encounters, when they meet a dogman and they say the dogman just looks evil, or there's a smell about this dogman, the dogman could be possessed. If pigs can get possessed, if humans can get possessed, so can dogmen. The other thing I want to bring up is rabies. Humans can get rabies, but it affects us differently. We got to get a shot. Because dogmen are not human, and because they do live out in the wild, at the end of the day, they are some type of, something. If a dogman gets rabies, we don't know what will happen, but I got a good idea of more than likely what will happen. So for some of the encounters, what if you come across a dogman with rabies? Or what if you come across a possessed dogman, or what if you just come across a dogman in a bad mood? These are just my theories and my opinions. I don't know for sure, but I feel like dogmen are spiritual creatures having a physical experience just like us. Now, the second question I often get is, do you believe the stories or encounters that you get? And my answer is yes. Yes, but also it's not my place. And I say that because I'm not there when these people had their encounters. So who am I to say that what happened to them did not happen to them? That is not my place to say that. And I highly doubt somebody's going to take time out of their day to make something up, email me with a fake story, and then not come on themselves. That doesn't make sense. So yes, I believe people, because all these encounters, people are not lying. People know what they saw. They know what they encountered. And who am I to say what they did or didn't encounter? So yes, short answer is yes, I believe people. Now, you do have some people out there who will capitalize, but I feel like there's not many, you know what I mean? Like, I don't worry about it, because if there are inconsistencies in a person's story, honestly, I trust. And if I don't catch it, I trust that my audience will. I 1000% trust that my audience will. So in this field, I feel like you can smell BS a mile away, and that's not something I have to worry about. So yes, every encounter that I get, I believe. And the last question comes from Kelly's email about her story. She asked me, do I think it could be possible that the reason the father hanged his dogs first was some sort of satanic sacrifice to prove his devotion to Satan? Now, it was alleged that the son was a Satanist and could have possibly followed in his father's footsteps. My answer to that is very possible. very highly possible, because it's rare. Honestly, in my 30 years on this earth, of all suicides, hearing of suicides, I've never heard of somebody killing their dogs and then killing themselves, Like I've heard of, killing family members like your kids or your spouse and then killing themselves, but not just to kill your pets though. He hung his dogs. Like that's very weird. That's not a normal, I don't know. But then again, what's normal in this world? But it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's very highly likely. Or if it wasn't a satanic ritual, there was some spirit of oppression on that family. That's all I could say. There was some spirit that was attached to the father that was, after the father passed, moved on to his son. So if it wasn't part of a ritual, that family was oppressed by a spirit. That's my opinion. That's my theory. But I can't speak. Let me know down in the comments below whether you guys agree with my answers to these 3 questions or not. Remember, let's talk, not attack. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for everybody who's ever sent me a story. And if you have an encounter you would like to share privately or publicly and you want me to retell it, or you want to come on, we can work all that out. Just my email's in the description. Join the Facebook group. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.